Honourable David Parker.
Mr Speaker, getting the whole truth out of the Prime Minister is like pulling teeth. Rubbish, we say. Rubbish. Well, there goes a man that used to work in his office alongside Jason Eade. Yeah, that's right. Where's Jason Eade? Tell us that. We never had Jason Eade coming out to tell us what went down in those days. Mr Speaker, Andrew Little's traversed some of the ground today. We had the government not saying anything about state house sales at the time of the election, and then miraculously having as their major focus at the moment the sale of state houses. We had the Sky City deal presented as being no cost to the government for the full Monty, for the whole shebang. It was going to be absolutely free. Not a cent more. Not a cent more was the phrase that was used. We now know that 14 months ago, Mr Joyce knew that that was not the case, that it was either going to be trimmed as to scope or the taxpayer would have to get the chequebook out. And then shortly after the election, we had both the Prime Minister and Mr Joyce softening up the public for having to spend more money on it, getting beaten around the head by New Zealanders about that, and now conceding that they get a smaller convention centre. So we haven't had the whole truth there, except dragged out reluctantly. Then we come to Iraq. No boots on the ground. That was the phrase. No boots on the ground was what the Prime Minister was saying before the election. New Zealanders were understandably suspicious because Bill English, John Key, Jerry Brownlee all said that New Zealand should have gone to war in Iraq in 2003 as part of the coalition of the willing. And lo and behold, those suspicions are proven to be right this week, when just a week after the Prime Minister said that's the cost of being part of the club, which he at that time meant was the Five Eyes Club, our traditional allies, United States, Australia, Great Britain, that club, he now tries to reinterpret that as being the United Nations and has been roundly criticised by the media for spinning on that particular issue. And then this week, as if all of this is not serious enough, we know that he's misleading about Dongwa Lu. Omitted to tell us, in respect of all of these, in the middle of all of these controversies, Mr Williamson resigning as a minister as a consequence, Judith Collins into trouble with Aurovita and her donations from them, and the conflict of interest in her meetings with Chinese border officials in China. In the middle of all of that, he puts out a statement through his staff and he admits to tell us that he had a private dinner with Dongwa Lu. That sort of omission just does not ring true. He was quizzed about this in the stand-up this week, Mr Speaker, and it reads like a Clark and Dawes script. It's almost funny if it wasn't so sad. He's asked if he's omitting by omission. Are you misleading by omission, the reporter asks. PM, no. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're never going to start getting into a process of saying where we had dinner. At the end of the day, it's one of those catchphrases that he always uses as a filler when he's in trouble. Next he said, I knew it was a Cabinet Club dinner. And the reporter says, just to be clear, last year your office denied the dinner was a Cabinet Club dinner. Emphatically they said no. PM, right. Reporter, you're saying it was a Cabinet Club dinner. PM, well that's only what I read in the paper in the weekend. People have their own definitions of it. Reporter, so to be clear, was it a Cabinet Club dinner? PM, I don't know. You'd have to ask Jamie Lee Ross. He organised it. Reporter, but didn't you say it was a Cabinet Club dinner? PM, well, like I say. Reporter, how do you define a Cabinet Club dinner? PM, well, that's right. How do you? Reporter, well, we don't go to them. It gets worse. It goes... Reporting, so you seem to be contradicting your office, who emphatically said it was not a Cabinet Club dinner. PM, well, probably it wasn't then. I don't know. I don't know the details. Reporter, but just moments ago you said it was a Cabinet Club dinner. PM, well, only because that's what I read in the paper. If you're telling me it wasn't, then it wasn't. Reporter, but you were there. Mr. Speaker, the catalogue of events where the Prime Minister has to have the truth dragged out of him and does him no credit whatsoever.
The Honourable Te Urara Flavel.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker.